wait a minute, there's still figures on the table. We got to drop the Warhammer 6th edition rulebook over there. Nice and gentle. We're in the middle of the fight. The very first battle in the Broman Crusade against the forces of the Vampire Lord. It is the start of turn number 4. The Bromans have the initiative, and as you can see, they've been kind of plinking away with their big cannon and their little archers at these skeletons over here. The only real combat that we have locked up is some zombies that are getting steamrolled by a unit of Broman spearmen. We got 2 leaders of the undead over there. We got a Necromancer Lord and an undead thrall. We've got a captain and a battle wizard, and then we have another unit over here. But man, look over this. This is where it gets complicated. We've got a couple of units of bats. Not tough, but kind of a pain in the neck. And then over here we do have another battle. I forgot about this battle. This is dire wolves going up against... Now, in terms of Warhammer, they're called Knights of the Wolf. Because the Bromans are the good guys... Oh, I almost forgot. Man, I'm filming this. Naked, spiritually. I got to put on my spiritual armor. My wrist rosary here. Because we like to tap into the power of the truth... These are now the Knights of the Lamb. And they, now, see the 2 guys with spears? Don't pay any attention to that. Those are proxy figures. The guys in the front rank are carrying hand weapons. When I'm using the other kind of knights, what's the other one? They're just knights on war horses. We put the lances in the front to show you that the guys in front actually doing the fighting are wielding lances. So that's what's going on there. As is the case, we always start with declaring our charges. We don't have any charges. These spearmen are actually facing that way. They turn that way to chase these guys off, the bats. And it's worked. The bats are now cycling around this way. They were hoping to take out the cannon. Didn't quite work out because the archers have pivoted. They didn't have a shot at those skeletons anyway. They're blocked by the forest. As you can see, bit of a choke point here. There's an uncrossable swamp. There's an uncrossable and blocks line of sight heavy forest over there. Kind of a choked battlefield through the center. And of course, the objective is to secure this cemetery for the Bromans so they can bless it, and then it cannot be used as a spawn point for more zombies. The Necromancer forces, the Necromancer's forces now face a conundrum. They want to get out of here. They know they're getting beat. They've done a few casualties, not as many as they'd hoped, but a few. They've taken out a couple of knights. They've taken out a couple of spearmen, and they're ready to retreat and gather more forces. But it's just not happening for them. So, as we begin turn number 4, we have movement, declare charges, and I don't think we have any charges. There's nobody in charge distance. We do not. That brings us to normal movement. Well, first, then we do the charges, which we don't have any, and then we do compulsory moves. We don't have any. Nobody's fleeing, and then we do regular movement. The undead have opted to expend their single-use forces. If they can eliminate the Knights of the Lamb, they're going to be in good shape. The flyers, these skirmishing bats, fly over the house. It doesn't block them. They can fly. Did you know bats can fly? They're mammals, but they can fly. It's a little weird. I'm surprised you didn't know that. They impact the Knights of the Lamb in the rear. I'm not sure what that means yet. Before I get to that, these core forces are going to retreat. They're running away. The skeletons have turned 90 degrees, and they're headed for the backside. Because of that, this guy has also done his march, so I don't know if he can even do magic, and the thrall is also moving away. I don't think anybody's going to be able to catch them. It might depend on who wins this fight over here. We'll talk about what that means in terms of the campaign after the fight is over. Dire wolves cause fear. Knights of the Lamb needed to make a leadership check. They needed to roll an 8 or less during that first combat, which, hey, look, what a surprise they did. Now they've been charged in their rear flank. That causes a panic check, which, as I read through this, I think it's just a simple leadership check. Panic, most common, make a panic test, yeah, which I think is just a psychology test, which is just roll 2d6. So let's see what happens. With an 8, they pass, so they will continue to fight. When we get to the melee phase, we'll talk a little bit more about this. But before melee comes missile. But before that comes magic. Neil has 4 dice. To his counterpart's 5. Neil says, I'm going to throw all 4. I'm going to try to blast him with my magic missile, looking for d6 strength 4 hits. He gets a pretty good roll this time. 14. Trying to suppress that. We're going to roll 4 dice for the Necromancer. He only scores 12. He does not. That means he takes D6 strength 4 hits. He takes 4 strength 4 hits. Blah, blah, blam. So we got to roll to wound. That old boy is behind heavy cover, so we're going to give him credit for that, I think. He's going to score a total of 1 wound. Should we add the cover to the save? I think that's what we do. That's going to be... Check my little cheat sheet here. It's not as easy as I thought it was in some of my earlier videos. You really got to check. A strength 4 hit versus a strength 3 means that 3 is a wounding hit. So we get 2 chances to save. And well, let's roll the dice first because it may be obvious. With a 2 and a 5, it's not as obvious as I had hoped. Turns out that wall doesn't do him any good. He has no save versus damage. He takes 2 hits. Fortunately, he's got 3 wounds. So he is still alive to fight. And he's going to return fire. He says, hey, not cool, man. That's Diob Zela, level 3 Death Wizard. He says, I am going to... He can counter that, man. Oh, no, he can't because he's out of range. His spell only has a range of 6 inches. It's a lot tighter. His attack spell. So he can cast Summon, and he can do this twice. He's going to try to do it with 2 dice, and he succeeds. He just needs a 5 or better. The white wizard down here says, well, I've got 2 dice to dispel. If he can beat a 7 versus a 7 is a successful. Do you have to meet or beat it? If you meet it, you beat it. Diob has a second chance, and he gets 3 dice this time. The dispel totally fails. That means we're going to wind up adding D6 skeletons to this unit, and we just add 1. Ah! How's that for luck? That's it for magic. I kind of like the way magic works in this game. It's a whole lot of sound and fury that largely cancels itself out, and then when it has effect, it can be really big, or not so much as we just saw. Anyway, I like it. Now we can do missile. The great cannon Moses speaks. Let my people go. Kablow! We are going to guess that skeleton unit up there, we got a total range of 30 inches. Table's only 24 inches across. We are going to guess, given how far that is, let's guess 16 inches. And then to that, we add the roll of a d6. Hoping we don't get a 6. A 5 means we measure out 21 inches. I am going to need my Wiley Games tape measure for this. 21 inches for the first landing, and 21 inches is going to be right there. Bum, 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 bum. We shot over the heads of the skeletons. That's a miss. We can roll for the second one, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it bounces 5 inches, but there's nobody over there. That is the end of missile. Now we can do our melee. We lead off this fight with the Chargers, weapon skill of 3 versus a weapon skill of 4, and those bats are going to do a grand total of, is that any hits? 3 versus 4. Yeah, we got 1 hit anyway. I guess that's something. Then we got to roll to see if we wound. It's a strength 2 versus toughness of 3, which means we need, ooh, I think we did it. We need a 5. We did it. Now we have the, we're looking for anything but a 1 or a 2 to save that, and we did get to save. So no hits there, but I think because the bats charged, I think that the wolves get to attack too. Now the wolves don't get their extra attack for having, last time they got an extra attack because they charged. There's only 6 of them. So we'll roll that Dire Wolves weapon skill of 3, again, versus a weapon skill of 3, hitting on 4s. I don't know, can you even see those up there? They're only going to get 2 hits. They're going to get 1 wound, and are we going to get a save? And it's going to be saved. Now we got a problem because it's going to be 5 knights and 5 horses attacking back. No casualties, even with the flank. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to pick these up. The horses are going to be the red dice. And the horses only hit on 4s, whereas the knights hit on 3s. That's going to be a total of 4 hits on the wolves. And now the horses attack. Let me double check here. The war horses have a strength of 3. So the red dice are going to be wounding on 4s, the blue dice wounding on 3s. We get no wounds. It's a whole big pile of nothing over here, which may work. I don't know whose favor. Oh, that may work in the favor of the Bromans. Now we have a fight over here, and it's going to be very sad. It's going to be only 4 little zombies. And these are... Oh, it's in initiative order. That's right, I forgot. Well, nobody hit, so it didn't matter over there. Over here, we're going to wind up hitting with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I've only got 10 dice here. It's going to be 12 dice to attack. Our spearmen are fighting in 2 ranks. And we're going to get... That's a pretty good roll. 3 versus 3. Hitting on 4s. 7 hits. And then we're rolling strength. The spears have a strength of 3 versus toughness of 3. Or, I'm sorry, the zombies, rather, have a toughness of... I think zombies have a toughness of 3 as well. So 3 versus 3, we're really only looking for 4s. But we do 2 damage to the zombies. And then, because we won by 2, the zombies didn't kill anybody, right? Oh, no, now the zombies go. So the zombies have 4 guys left standing, and they'll make their 4 attacks. We'll call that a 4. That's going to be 1 hit, rolling to wound. A 4 will wound, and then rolling to save is a failed. So we'll pull 1 more guy off the back row. The zombies have lost by 1, meaning they lose another zombie, and that unit still remains right where it's at. And that is going to be the end of the turn. Moving on to turn number 5. Our spearmen are in hot pursuit. They're going to chase 4 inches. They're marching right up through this gap here. Our wizard has to march over here so that he's got room where he can actually see. And then we'll bring our captain over here to reinforce these guys in case something weird happens. Our archers will come around this side. We might as well bring them over here just in case things start to fall apart over on the right flank. And that should be all the movement that we have for the boys in yellow and white. The skeletons are going to do... Now, they can't march. 2 inches is the fastest they can move. So they're going to be just shy of the table edge. Our leader has to spend an inch getting over the wall. He'll be there, and then this guy will be right there as well. I think that may be it for the movement. I think that's pretty good. We're going to do our standard magic phase where the good wizard tries to blast the evil wizard. He gets a total of 14 on his casting a spell. The evil wizard gets an 18 on his dispel, and now our evil wizard decides reinforcements are the order of the day. If he can get 2 of these off, with a 9 he succeeds, and our good wizard is going to dispel with 2. He fails, so we get D6 skeletons. Then we try again, and this time we're going to use 3 dice, and we fail. Ooh, triple 1s. Wow, we fail in a major way. Necromancers, I get bullied all the time when I pronounce it necromancers, but I think death, right? Carrion birds? That's why I do that. But continue to bully me. Bullying works. Use it. It's a tool. Use it for good, not evil. Point being, my boy here doesn't suffer ill effects when he fails on that spell. He just doesn't get to use it. It's one of the rules. Look it up if you don't believe me. But we get D6 skeletons, and we finally manage to score big. So 5 skeletons are going to appear, and we're almost done with that, so I'm just going to dump. And I got to dump that 6th one down so I don't forget. Because at the end of the day, I'll use my figure counts to remind me where we're at in the campaign. This serves as my matter of record. Moses thunders forth once again. He has not moved. We're going to declare, let's declare 18 inches. Plus 2 means the cannonball will land 20 inches away. 18 plus 2 dumps it right there. I think that's a hit, even if we roll a 6 on this die. Well, we rolled a 2, so we do get the hit. We get D6, strength 10 hits, and look at that. Look at that. The Dark Lord, the forces of death giveth, and the forces of chance taketh away. Those 6 summoned skeletons had just enough time to say, wait, what am I doing out of the ground? Why am I not pushing daisies? Before they got put right back in the ground pushing daisies. We are done with shooting. Right, these archers, they don't have anybody to shoot at. So we get to do a little bit of fighting. And I'm not even going to move the camera. See this fight right here? I don't know. I'm going to be impressed if these zombies... There's only 3 of them left. And our spearmen are going to be hitting on 4s. They get 6 hits. And with no saves, these zombies just crumble, don't they? That's going to be 1, 2 zombies eliminated to start with. And then the zombies do their counterattack, hitting on 4s. Is that right? Ooh, that might be the roll that they needed to survive just one more turn. Zombies have a weapon skill of 2. Are they hitting on 5s? Weapon skill of 2 versus a weapon skill of 3. They're hitting on 4s. They get 3 hits. They get how many wounds? With a strength of 3 versus toughness of 3, they get 3 wounds. And now my spear boys, they're going to get 2 wounds. It's going to be a tie fight. Oh, no, it's not. We're going to lose 2 more spearmen off the back rank. So it's 2-2. The banner means the boys win by 1. Winning by 1 destroys the last of the zombies. So we've eliminated all of the zombies from this fighting force, but the game isn't over yet. We have one more fight. Don't get me wrong. Normally you attack in order of initiative, but because the bats are attacking the rear, I think we're going to let the bats attack first. They're going to get 2 hits. They're going to roll a wound. They're going to get 1, and then we're looking for a 2 or better. Yeah, the guys with... Oh, do they have shields? Let's take a look. The Knights of the Lamb have heavy armor and barding. That's going to do 1 wound. They took out... That's ugly right there. Now, the Knights get to go next. Is that right? The Dire Wolves have an initiative of 2, and the Knights have an initiative of 3, so the Knights get to go next. And as usual, we've got horses hitting on 4s. That's the red dice. We've got Knights hitting on 3s. That's the blue dice. The Knights are going to get 2 hits, and the horses are going to get 2 hits. Then when we roll to wound, it's going to be a repeat of that process, where the red dice are wounding on 4s. We're going to get 3 hits on the Dire Wolves. The Dire Wolves have, that's going to be 2 wounds to the Dire Wolves. So the Dire Wolves eliminate 2 of those, and let's just double check that real quick. Dire Wolves have a toughness of 3 going up against that strength of 4. That does reduce their save by 1. I don't think they even have a save. They do not. They're hard hitters, but they don't stick around very long. You really want to get that charge. That means that the Knights have won this round of combat. At a cost of 4 figures, this might be expensive. Having won by a single point, and without any leaders nearby, the Dire Wolves now have to make a leadership check to see what happens. With a 9, that becomes a 10. They have failed. They will run away 3d6 inches, and they will run off the table unless our pursuing Knights can beat a roll of 15 on 3d6. They get a 14. They will fall just short. If they make a leadership check, they can stay... Well, I think that's probably it. The Knights are going to chase these guys off the table because we're getting to the end of the fight. The Knights will pursue these remaining... Let's tuck these over here real quick. The Wolves will peel off, and I think because the Wolves have a greater movement... Let me put these guys back. Because the Wolves have a greater movement speed, we're going to let them get away for campaign purposes. If these guys were on foot, off the table, we might play a little mini game to find out how many escape and survive. Likewise, these bats can fly, so I'm going to count them as survivors. This ends the turn. On the next turn, it doesn't matter what happens. None of the Broman forces are close enough to do any good or to catch these guys. Even though they only have a movement of 2 inches, they are within 2 inches of the tabletop. The skeletons, our thrall, which one is that? I haven't had to mention him at all, have I? We didn't want to risk him this early in the campaign. If these guys both died in this scenario, then all of these skeletons would fall down, go boom. We didn't want that. Captain Legenman still, and who's... Man, no wonder I didn't mention it. Oh, Adrith Smean, the Iron Thrall, escapes from the table. He can move 4 inches. That's going to wrap it up. Now you can see kind of how the tabletop battle works. Let's take a look. We have time, and this is part of why I wanted to break this up into 2 parts. Because we did a lot of talking at the start of the last episode about setting up the tabletop. And now we're going to do a lot of talking at the end of the episode about how this tabletop skirmish war game that went just about as well for the undead as we expected. Not great, but there are some silver linings. Let's take a look at those and what they mean for the map-based campaign. So here's where things get interesting. We talked a little bit about what happens when you are chased off the tabletop. We're going to use common sense. Heavy knights are not useful for chasing down wolves. They're too heavy. They tire easily. So the 7 wolves that escaped, they have fully escaped. Everybody retreated off the north side of the table. That means, look, we've got a road going off to the left or the east. That would be this road here on our map. They've all escaped this way. Battle took place on the 16th. 17, 18, 19. About the 20th, that force is going to reach this barrow and pick up more skeletons. They can hold the stream. They may set up a defensive perimeter there. Remember Duala Stream? I don't know. Let's get a little bit ahead of ourselves. Let's just deal with the aftermath of the 16th right now. Well, how appropriate. John 3:16. Isn't that appropriate? I like that. That's kind of the synchronicity in this hobby just amazes me. All right, now here's the problem. The Bromans lost 1, 2, 3, 4 knightly figures. So 4 of these Knights of the Lambs, that's 40 holy souls that fell. But they were all just fell in battle. That doesn't necessarily mean they were killed outright. So what we do is we take half of those and we say half of those are really dead. So we now have 8 Knights of the Lamb for our next fight. And we have, I'm going to put down 3, we're going to call it, should we call it 2 weeks that they're out or 1 week? Let's call it 2 weeks because it's such a big area. All of our injuries, wounded until, for 2 weeks, well, that was the 16th, so that would be to the 30th. Until March 30th, we've got 2 guys, 2 of those knights that will come back if we fight on the 30th. We also have 6 spearmen, so that means this unit of 20 is now a unit of 17 spearmen, but we'll get 3 back on the 30th. See how that works? That's for Force Cherub. Turning the page to look at Force Banquo, our Necromancer took 2 wounds. He's going to be at 1 wound. Let's say that will last for 1 week until, and I'll just put a little note here, 3/23. On the 23rd, he'll go back to full health. We had 12 direwolves, but we lost 5 of them. Well, 2 are for sure dead. 2 are for sure wounded. We're going to roll a d6. On a 1, 2, or 3, that odd man is dead. All right, he's simply wounded. So we have 3 wounded, and they'll hide out and they'll make their way back. So we say these 12 direwolves are now just 10 direwolves with 3 that are wounded until 3/30th. Now, we don't have to worry about tracking quite so many wounds on the part of the undead. What we do know is that the zombies were wiped out to a man. We started out the day with 28 skeletons, and we wound up the day with just 21. So ultimately, what we're looking at, and in the case of the undead, anybody that dies is really dead. So in the case of the undead, let's put Diob over here. In the case of the undead, we don't have to track wounds, because once you smash them up, they don't heal. You just have to summon more. Now the question becomes, does 2 dire wolves and 7 skeletons and 16 zombies outweigh the price that was paid in terms of 30 spearmen and 20 knights? I don't know. I don't think it does. I think the Bromans are going to have to do a much better job pinning an undead force down, because one of the other things to be aware of is that the Bromans now, they've won on the 16th. And I have to check and see what day of the week it is. They're going to have to spend the 17th resting to recover their wounded and heal up. Then they're going to have to spend the 18th blessing this cemetery to eliminate it as a threat, so no zombies there. Then they have to decide, do they want to set out in hot pursuit? There's going to be at least a 3-day lead. The forces of Diobzela are going to be in good position to pick up more skeletons before the Bromans can get there. Or do the Bromans want, now remember, force Seraph, that's right, that's the other army. Seraph is coming up behind him. Force Seraph is going to move in this direction. So we have to make a choice. Do we want to set off eyes on the prize, or do we want to pursue this strong force? Remember, the bats and the dire wolves can be dispatched to travel across country at great speed. We may have to deal with them anyway. And if we chase them down, maybe we catch them. Oh, we're not going to catch them. They're just too fast. So I think we have to set out. The cherubs are going to move in that direction. We have 4 other forces on the map we need to deal with. We're going to do that in the next edition of Warhammer 6th map-based campaigning. The Broman campaign over here, Force Archangel, is just about to meet Force Julius. Archangel for the Bromans, Julius for the Undead. They're going to meet somewhere along this road. But I'm not sure where, because you can't look too many days down the line. But we'll set up that fight. And we've learned a little bit about how to set up fights and kind of make things a little more efficient. I think it'd be better if we could keep all of the map-based stuff in an episode and just do one fight at a time. But that's going to take a little bit more thought on the setup to ensure that we know exactly what the table looks like and all of that rigmarole and nonsense. So learning as we go, doing better all the time. Thanks for watching. Till next time, I am praying for you.